Welcome back to Community Crossfire, another point of view. Again, I want to thank the Congo Hour for giving us the first hour, and now we're going to go into the second hour of the debate. I hope everyone who's been watching have really been enjoying the debate and also a little crossfire going back and forth from our candidates. Again, I want to thank Rhonda Graham from the News Journal and Alan Lodell from WDEL. This is what we're going to do this second half. We're going to have you guys ask maybe one or two questions. Let these guys answer them. Then we're going to get a couple questions from the audience. And if you guys could keep your questions down to like 30 seconds, we don't want you to give a speech. Just ask a question, and we'll let you guys answer them, okay? Then we'll take some questions from the phone line. All right, Rhonda?
This is for Mr. Williams. You talk a lot about hugging a thug, so I want to get I think I know what you mean by it, but I think a lot of people need to understand beyond me what you mean by it. What do you mean, and where does that idea come from? I have a follow-up to that, because when to answer.
Well, first of all, I don't know why anybody would ever use a phraseology like that to talk about hugging people who are violent offenders. And we know that there's only 6% of the people who commit the violence. Well, why haven't we arrested them in 11 and a half years?
No, I'm talking about your use of it. You say you're not going to hug a thug. So what do you mean? I mean, what?
It means I'm not going to deal with violent offenders with kid gloves. Does that make it better?
Are there certain programs that, why, what's that term? Are you saying that the current administration is hugging thugs or wants to deal with
I actually don't think the current administration is be aggressive enough to doing police work. I actually don't. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
The things that I'm hearing from neighbors, I'm knocking on doors since October 2011. The things that I'm hearing, 98% of the people are complaining about crime in this city. I don't know why nobody else can't figure it out. This is what people are telling us from the Highlands, all the way to Riverside, to Bennett Street, all the way to the 9th Ward. This is what we're hearing. People are afraid. People are terrified in this city.
That's a given. No, I just wanted to ask that question. My follow-up to that then is that on your website you make reference to reentry, and it stuns me that whenever I hear you talk, you never talk about reentry, and I think that's critical to this next administration.
It's very critical.
The governor and the Hope Commission are working on a plan where the Capits are given a house for reentry on the east side of town, where most of the criminals or most of the inmates, when they come out, they come to that side of town.
Right.
So I don't hear you talking about the reentry side. I understand you can be tough on crime, but everyone knows you can't police your way out of this problem. So what I'd like to hear, because you're probably the most sharpest person on this issue.
Thank you.
Well, it's not meant to be a compliment.
You said it like it was one, so I responded to you like it was one.
I want to be. I'm not complimenting any of you. I want to be fair, but I don't understand why you're not putting emphasis as well on your reentry, because that actually is what can turn this around. Don't you agree?
I have been working with Charles Madden. I put $275,000 into reentry. Listen, the Capitals are working on that. I'm willing to work with them, and I am going to work with them. Charles Madden came to me about a year ago and told me what he needed. I put $250,000 in this year and $25,000 in last year. I am going to work with them, but that's their job to do that. I do want to work with them. There will be a reentry component to the police package that we have. We will work on reentry, but right now, reentry is not on my radar. Right now, I got to get the guns out of violent offenders' hands, and then we'll deal with reentry.
Okay. And my follow-up to that is, you understand that a lot of people coming out, they have instant access to guns. So I think that should be part of reentry, is what people are asking. But the other thing is, it seems to me that you also are saying that you would keep the Hope Commission, and that's for everyone here. When you come back when whoever gets into office, what's going to be the state of the Hope Commission in terms of, will you refund it? Will you defund it? Will you alter the funding on it? Or what do you think of the Hope Commission?
So you're still asking me?
No, this is for everyone.
Okay,
but because you're here,
yeah,
we
since
can
you
begin
talked
with
to
you.
me, I'll respond first.
Yeah.
I am going to keep the Hope Commission. I'm most definitely going to keep the Hope Commission. Some people had some problems with the Hope Commission, but I think that was egos. I don't think it was really what the Hope Commission was doing. I think some people didn't like the director. I happen to like the director, and I am going to keep the Hope Commission. Absolutely, 150%.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, the Hope Commission, I think, needs to stay. I've been on the Hope Commission for many years. We did come up with the concept of the reentry program. A lot of people have the idea, but the Hope Commission and the CAPAs are making that a reality, and I've worked on that for many years to get it to that, so I'm proud of that. The problem that I have with Dennis and his whole take on crime is this get tough approach. He's used phraseology in different meetings about getting really rough. Now, what does that mean to someone out on the community? If you've got a young man or woman out on the streets, you better be concerned about their civil rights under a Williams administration. I'm really concerned about that. I said a line at a recent debate. I said, somebody in the room better have the ACLU on their speed dial, and I believe that. We cannot have a policing program that steps on the rights of the people in the city. And I've been working on a lot of things. I found new technology up in East Orange, New Jersey. The legislature just funded that. I got accused of lobbying in Dover. Heaven forbid you might go to Dover and lobby for money. Kevin said he would wait till he became mayor to do that. I don't know why. But I went to Dover. We got $450,000 to put some new technology in the police cars. I've been an advocate for the Safe Communities model, which is working in 70 cities around the country. Talk to the gentleman who runs NOBLE, the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers. Their president endorses this program. One of the best African-American mayors in this city, Mark Mallory in Cincinnati, is gung-ho for the Safe Communities program. He's brought violent crime down in his city consistently 4 years in a row, 41%. You got to have all those things working to have community policing and everything else we want.
The Hope Commission is not working. It needs to be totally restructured. I was on City Council when we created the Hope Commission. It was brought in to help young people. Over time, it's evolved to a reentry program. But still, we have young people who are not graduating from high school. When they're not graduating, they're not getting an education, they're going to crime. The Hope Commission needs to go back to its central focus on young people. We need to have outreach workers. I was one of those outreach workers that walked through the city. It worked. We engaged in young people. Reentry is a function of what we need to do for young people in the city, but if we don't go back to starting on younger children in pre-K, early childhood education, junior high, high school, we're losing that battle. And the reason there's so much crime in the city and our neighborhoods are unsafe is because our young people are not getting an education. And the last time I checked, that was a state function. So maybe Mr. Williams, instead of giving $275 to the Hope Commission, should put more money into tutoring programs for our kids in the city.
We want to take your call, but your phone is up.
Over on this corner.
Your TV's up and down. With you. Let's take a question.
Well, I didn't get a chance to respond to that question either. On the Hope Commission, I want to evaluate to see how it can be more effective. But what Mr. Williams said earlier about getting tough, it concerns me that he may be overplaying his police experience and playing on the fears of our city, because the crime problem, if you look around the country, getting tough is not the simple solution. That's a simplistic approach. So we need an approach that cuts crime now, takes care of the fundamental dangerous risk without a homicide unit, puts in a reentry program that revitalizes our city and redeems lives, and then fundamentally, you cannot gloss over with just toughness the fundamental need to produce jobs to reduce crime, produce a higher graduation rate to reduce crime. And we can do that effectively by giving incentives for students to graduate from high school, going to House Bill 244, which you should have supported to make sure it gets through.
Yeah, I did support
on 18.
The bill.
I know, but it should have
Okay.
gone through. That's why I said you should have supported that.
No, I did support it. I did
and
support the bill.
but it didn't get passed to make sure students stay in school until 18. And I would take it a step further. They shouldn't have their driver's license until 18, until they stay in school and graduate. So we can do these incentives, and that ultimately reduces crime in the long term too.
Yes,
Albert,
thank
make sure
you.
put the, tell Albert to put the numbers up there.
Yes, the Hope Commission needs to be looked at totally all over again. I believe the hope is really with us in the community. The struggles that our community have, 40% of the crimes that's being done just in Newcastle County alone is through struggle. These people don't have jobs. We got kids working in the place of parents. We got to bring jobs back to Wilmington. We got to bring opportunity back. And the only way to do that is if we start, with our government. Our government has to rechannel its vision and start looking out for the communities. The riverfront's done. Downtown Wilmington's done. The damage is done by hiring other people to do it. I don't think we need a commission to come and give us a report on a 30, 60, or 90-day trial basis to let us know what's going on. We need to take these initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, and it has to start with government, concerned individuals. And when it comes to saying hugging thugs, we need to hug our communities. Yes, if we change what's going on in the communities, you're going to see a big difference. When social services is cut and public safety is cut, crime goes up. It's a given across the country. So we got to start bringing back these opportunities, and that's what I would like to do.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the conversation, but I want to just first of all say good evening to all the panelists. I think that we're good in Wilmington. We're going to be all right. I think that the mayors, I might have a favorite, but I think you guys are doing good. I want to ask a question that may deviate just a little from. I was thoroughly upset this week when the former senior senator from Delaware, Joe Biden, referred to scare black people back into thinking that the Republican Party or somebody was going to put us back in chains. And
but Calvin, we talking about the mayor race. We're not talking about Biden. Call me back. Let's take a question from this audience. I love Calvin, but we talking about mayor race. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into what Joe Biden saying and all that. I understand that. Go ahead.
All right, good afternoon. Well, excuse me, good evening, everybody. My name is Demetrius Todd. I'm a member of Local 1590. My question to all the mayoral candidates is this. The fire department just recently had a SAFER grant where they hired roughly 20 individuals to help with the shortage of firefighters and to keep the safety levels up. The problem is, out of those 20 people, one of them, I believe, was currently a city resident, and that same one was African American in nature. What, if anything, would you guys do if elected the mayor to ensure that those type of hiring practices don't happen again in the future?
Basically, you're saying that there was only one African American hired out of 20, and most of them were out of the city. The other ones who were hired?
Absolutely.
And you want to know what these guys do?
Yes,
okay, if you guys can answer this because time is running out.
Which way you want to go?
We go with you both and we'll go that way. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, again, I guess I will have to actually understand the process. I mean, we don't know how many African Americans from Wilmington actually applied. So if it was probably just one applied. So understanding the process and then knowing the ones that want to look hard. Of course, in the Bovell administration, we review everybody. We don't single nobody out.
Okay, Kevin.
I agree with you. I challenged what happened. We need to look at our Explorer program where we're having young people right now learn how to be firefighters. We have to get away from trying to find firefighters who have certification and have clear hiring goals of people from the city of Wilmington. All of our jobs should be geared to helping young people in the city of Wilmington become a firefighter. Council reduced the age of the firefighter down, lowered it so we can have more firefighters. But it's unacceptable to have 20 people hired in the city as diverse as we are with one African American and the other 19 not living in the city.
Okay, Bill.
The chief, Willie Patrick, is actually the gentleman who brought the Explorer post to Wilmington with an eye toward doing just that, getting more Wilmington kids interested in firefighting. The problem is that we do need firefighters. We need them quickly. The last round, he actually made the decision to go and hire off existing lists because there was such a need in the city to fill the vacancies. I believe that we should try and get more Wilmingtonians in the fire service. We should have that fire service be more reflective of our population. That's a goal. We all probably up here agree with that. It's how you get to it. It's very tough. Our firefighters in the class before that, when they actually had a class, worked really, really hard, went all over the state and beyond. Went to Dell State, went to Belvedere Fire Company, everywhere, trying to find more African Americans and more Hispanics for the force.
Thanks, Bill.
And you only get so many.
Yes.
You have to ultimately hire someone.
I think the whole policy needs to be revamped, but there is some glitches there because when I helped recruit Delaware State Police, a lot of African American males now are highly educated and making a lot of money, and they just do not want to be in confrontational situations such as arresting people, pulling guns on people when they can make twice the amount that of money being in banks and other high-paying jobs. Those days, I think, are gone. We're going to have to start looking at people coming out of the military, but we're going to have to change this whole hiring process and really do a true hiring process and not just gloss over it. I mean, really start to get minorities in. Females, Hispanics, and blacks, absolutely.
Okay, Scott.
Demetrius, that's a good question because that says, what is our city doing? Where are we letting our people down in terms of opportunity? And I understand that question as being a symptom of the fact that the opportunities aren't getting into our communities. Now, the Explorers Post is a good one to do, but when it comes to hiring, we should have a clear path forward to get the word out on the east side or Riverside or on the hilltop and make sure we have active recruitment effort. We actually recruit developers to come into the city. Why aren't we actively recruiting our own to take advantage of opportunities? Spencer administration is going to change that.
Thanks, Scott. We're going to take a phone call. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yes, this is JJ. I have a question for each of the candidates up there. I'd like to know which of the candidates would be dead sure to get rid of these contractors in the city who are taking thousands and thousands of dollars out of the city to their respective areas, particularly the booting contractor.
Okay, thank you. Scott, we'll start with you. Guys, again, we got to keep it going.
All right, that's fundamental to making sure our city is in control of the goal of our future. And under a Spence administration, I've already tried to address that with the Riverfront Hotel deal and the Honeywell deal, saying that the contract should specifically get a commitment from the bidder of what is the percentage of local labor content, what is the percentage of union labor content, so we're not scratching our heads. What happened? We'll make a commitment, we'll follow through, we'll hold them accountable. I do that for transit systems around the country to make sure we deliver on the local labor
Thank you,
content.
Scott.
I would
Dennis?
put that back in the hands of parking enforcement. I would take an outside vendor, eliminate them, put it right back in the hands of parking enforcement, city employees that did it for years. I don't know why it was ever taken away from them from the beginning.
Thank you, Bill.
You can't do that because the outside companies we're using are bringing their technology to us. They own the rights to
Probably
that
because you signed a
technology.
20-year contract with them. That's
No,
probably
it
one.
was not a
Let's let
20-year.
him answer.
Can I answer my question, please?
Sure.
The outside contractors we're talking about in booting and things like that are bringing technology to the city to make the city more efficient. I've already talked about $24 million deficit. We just added another 2.5 if you want to keep the police and firemen on there. Dennis doesn't want to cut half, or doesn't even want to touch police and fire, so he's going to solve all that on the backs of half of the city. But the reality is the contracts that we are using for technology are smart. To run this city better, you need more technology. You need innovation. You can't hire a city employee to do every job this city needs to be done because the taxpayers of the city can't afford them. You own that employee until they die. You pay their health care, their pension till they die.
Thank you,
we
Bill.
go to contractors because it's efficient.
Letting everybody, about 45 seconds.
See from Mr. Montgomery, he wants to continue what he's been doing. Doesn't want to look outside the box. How do we bring these jobs that we're contracting back into the city of Wilmington for our workforce? We have consultants watching consultants. How do we bring them back in? How do we bring back the Prios in? How do we bring back the motor vehicle contract that's down at the yard that's been privatized for years? We need to take a new look at all the way we're providing services to citizens of the city, and are there better ways to do that where we hire our own? I don't have a problem with hiring somebody in the city because that person's going to be living in the city, working in the city, and reinvesting in the city instead of taking our money in some booting car and riding somewhere else. They finally have Delaware plates. They had Jersey plates. Now we finally at least have them registered in Delaware. We're
Thank
getting
you,
closer.
Kevin. Robert.
It's quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. Let's teach our people the technology. Why go outside? Let's teach our people the technology and keep the money at home. Simple.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just tuned in, this is a Mayoral debate. We're taking phone calls. We got people on the mics. We got Alan. We got Rhonda. We're having a good old time here. We just got to get some fighting going on. Go ahead. Next question.
Hello, everyone. My name's Ed Osborne. I've asked this question many times on WDEL, newspapers, debates, but this is the most important place that I will ever ask this question because the people in this community are most affected by eminent domain abuse. In 2007, the Baker administration and the Wilmington City Council voted on a plan to take Delaware's property rights away. 2009, Jack Markell signed a bill and gave the rights back. My question to the panel is, where did you stand on that plan, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, let me start off because it's a non-issue. All this talk about eminent domain, it's Johnny One Note for my good friend over there. The fact is that we have 15 urban renewal zones in this city. Much of the city is an urban renewal zone. You do that to fight blight and to improve the communities. You put a 30-year plan in place in those areas, and you have a wish list. In those areas, we say, if things worked out and we had the money, we'd like to maybe take these properties here and create X. That's not anything new. Urban renewal is allowed by the state code. What was taken out of the code by the legislation it's talking about is you used to be able to have a public-private partnership where you could use some public money and some private money and get a project done. That is now stripped. That tool is gone from the city of Wilmington for economic development, and that's not a good thing.